What's up, YouTube? This is Dr. McIntosh with Health and Performance Center. I'm back with Impingement Part 5. Hope you guys enjoy. So again, this is Impingement Part 5. I am Dr. McIntosh with Health and Performance Center. So what are our objectives for today? We're going to talk about rehab and why I think rehabbing the shoulders is important. And we're going to talk a little bit about exercise selection and some strength and conditioning concepts to think about when you're doing rehab for the shoulder. So this looks very similar to Part 4, but Part 4 we focused on tendons. Now we're going to focus on muscles. So here's a beautiful picture of a muscle. This is not an anatomy class. I just thought it's important to understand this is what it looks like. So, why muscles? Why do you want muscles? Well, you want muscles for a few reasons. Number one, you're less likely to die if you have a lot of muscle mass. Number two, as you get older, you're less likely to be disabled if you have a lot of muscle mass. And then number three, you're more likely to be a bad at $, if you guys get what I'm saying. But yeah, seriously, I mean, who wouldn't want to look like the guy on the left from 300? He's a cool guy. I don't want to be the skinny fellow on the right with no muscle. You want to be the big jacked muscle head. But seriously, anyway, let's get back on track here. So having strong shoulders that are not limiting to life and allow you to do whatever it is you want to do in life, that's a great thing. We should all want that. And this video is particularly for people who do not have shoulders that can do that for them. So shoulder rehab, kind of some things to think about. Muscles are different than tendons. In my experience, tendons heal very slowly. And muscles heal about 2 times as fast. It's just on average. Might be a little bit of a bias for what kind of tendon and muscle issues that I've seen. But in general, muscles tend to heal a little bit faster than tendons. And of course, the strains are different, right? A grade 3 strain where it's almost completely torn or torn off the bone, that's different. But in general, the rehab process is pretty similar. And I want you guys to take these 3 things away when you think about what do muscles respond to. Number one, muscles respond to tension. So that is intensity and the range of motion, right? Imagine a 300-pound bench press and you bench press 305 pounds. The intensity and the tension on your muscles is going to be way harder as opposed to a 100-pound bench. And taking that through a full range of motion down and touching against your chest and pressing is going to have a lot more tension than a shortened range of motion. Number 2 would be damage. When I think of muscle damage, I think of the volume. That could be in sets per week. That could be in a lot of things, right? The tonnage. Let's say you squat 100 pounds for 10 sets of 10. That's a lot of volume. That will cause a lot of muscle damage. Number 3 is stress. So something called blood flow restriction causes a lot of metabolite accumulation to the muscles, and they tend to respond pretty well to that. Now, one thing I really want you guys to do is I want you to change your perception about rehab. Rehab is not TheraBands and Bosu balls and all the cute stuff that you might see online. What rehab really is just progressive overload. It's specificity, it's periodization. It is classical strength and conditioning. Now, to be fair, some of those rehab things like TheraBands and Bosu balls, etc., can be good in the beginning stages, but your body really needs to be challenged to create a change. So, in the rehab process, there's 3 stages of rehab, and it helps me to think of it as 3 stages. Number 1 being early rehab, mid-stage or late stage, and then there's the return to sport stages. So in the first stage, you want to think about higher repetition, lower weight exercises, and shortened range of motion. Now the short range of motion is important neurologically and physiologically. You don't want to put too much strain on the muscles when they're in the lengthened position. So in the early stages of rehab, I actually want to avoid eccentrics and avoid a ton of stretching. In the mid stages, you want to kind of transition away from the higher rep to the low-ish, right? So that can be, you still probably want to stay in the hypertrophy zone of more than 4 repetitions up to about 8 to 12 with higher weights, right? We want to be continually progressive in our overload of the specific muscles, and we want to be pushing towards full range of motion. And in the mid stages is where I like to add eccentrics back to the rehab process. And then the last stage would be once you can do almost everything without pain, is when you add your plyometrics and your sport-specific training. So, in summary, non-physiologically enhanced amounts of muscle, i.e. not from taking steroids that are made for cows or crazy amounts of testosterone, are generally, usually, almost always a good thing. Muscle mass is your friend. Number 2, muscles respond differently to rehab than tendons. Number 3, I want you to change your opinion about rehab for muscles. It's not cute stuff. It's not a ton of stretches and modalities. It is just hardcore strength training. So stay tuned for future videos. We're going to start getting into what specifically to do for shoulder impingement. Thanks for watching.